What's going on, everybody? I am Dion Jr. This is Centric, and let's jump right into this Birds news today.
The Green Bay Packers submitted a proposal to the NFL's competition committee to ban the tush push, according to league sources Monday, with their vice president, Mike Murphy, saying that the play lacks skill and is an automatic first down on third and shorts and fourth and shorts and critical downs. Other head coaches at the NFL scouting combine also spoke out about the tush push, with the Atlanta Falcons head coach Raheem Morris saying that he's not a big fan of the play himself.
I was never been a big fan. There's just no other play in our game where you can absolutely get behind somebody and push them, pull them off, do anything.
But of course, it didn't end there. Other head coaches at the NFL scouting combine had something else to say about the tush push. But Todd Bowles shed some light on the tush push and defended the play when he was asked at the NFL scouting combine about the safety of the play.
The safety of it's always going to be a question because it's a rugby style play, but I have nothing against it. You found guys that are being creative and found the niche and how to gain an edge in this league, and that's what we as coaches try to do on a daily basis.
Right.
So now it's up to defensive coaches to try to gain an edge to try and stop it and find ways to stop it. So that's the challenge of it every time somebody brings something new, whether it's offense or defense. So I'm all for it that way. Again, nobody's been seriously hurt at this time, but you got to learn how to stop it if you're going to try and stop it.
Something that I agree with fully. And, it was kind of weird seeing Sean McDermott being one of the coaches at the NFL scouting combine. I know I didn't show it to you, but he was one of the NFL head coaches at the scouting combine proposing or speaking against the tush push. And that was kind of weird to see because he runs it at a higher clip than the Eagles. He ran it at a higher clip than the Eagles did this season. In addition to that, I just think if you can't stop the play, there's no need to cry about it at a combine to the media or to the competition committee and try to get it banned. You either stop it or you can't. And I know I'm a biased Eagles fan, but I speak for all teams that run this play at an effective high rate. That isn't a play that's an automatic play. It takes a lot of practice and skill. When you don't have a quarterback like Jalen Hurts who squats 500 pounds in the weight room, then it might be a little harder for your team to run that play. Either way, you guys let me know how you feel in the comments below.
I saw some footage where Jordan Love tried to run this play, and it was a horrible, horrible fail. So maybe that's why. I don't know. They even stopped the Eagles 2 times in the game that they played in Brazil in the season opener. They stopped the Eagles twice on the 1-yard line in the fourth quarter and earlier in the game. So I don't understand how they could propose a ban to stop the play. I mean, if you can't stop the play, you just can't stop the play. I don't see a reason for you to ban the play. If someone comes in with a great play in the NFL and it can't be stopped, that doesn't mean you go and ban it. But that's either here nor there. In bigger news, Jeff McClain of the Philadelphia Inquirer wrote an article about how Zach Bond is one of the first priorities for the Eagles moving forward, and how the bald eagle could take up a lot of space in the cap this season. But with that, Jeff McClain also wrote about Zach Bond's desire to play in Philadelphia under Vic Fangio's scheme, which would make it unlikely for Bond to budge on guarantees, annual salary, or even the years played in Philly. This is going to be a huge contract for Zach Bond this season, one that could look up to $15 million a year. Howie Roseman never puts that much money into the linebacker position. This will probably be the first time in a long time, or probably ever, that Howie Roseman has spent this much money on a linebacker, on anyone at that position. So we have to be ready for Zach Bond to be breaking the bank this season in free agency. ESPN's Dan Graziano predicted that Zach Bond would sign a 4-year, $60 million deal. So if we can get a big deal for Zach Bond this season, that'll be huge for Zach Bond, especially moving into the next season where he'll be set financially, and it'll be all worth it, because if you watched him this season, if you watched Zach Bond throughout the season, from game 1 all the way through the Super Bowl, I mean, he shined. Peanut punches with the fumbles and interceptions. He was able to run free on defense as a linebacker, and he was able to get interceptions on Mahomes in the Super Bowl. And I mean, when you look at his numbers, it all speaks for itself. You're talking about a guy with 93 solo tackles, tied third in the NFL, 3.5 sacks 5 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Also, that goes along with the interception that he had in the Super Bowl that I just spoke about against Patrick Mahomes. Zach Bond was definitely one of those special pieces that was added to the defense along with Vic Fangio that put this defense at the top of the league when it was at the bottom of the league just last year. Granted, he is a 29-year-old linebacker, but he has no injury history and experience on a championship defense in which he helped create. From the first game in Brazil against the Packers and the sack on Malik Willis, Zach Bond has answered the call from the beginning to the end of the season. And I feel like the only way is up for him. He's one of those linebackers that's very smart in space. If you let him just sit out there in space and play free, he'll get you some big plays. He'll be able to get the ball out. He'll be able to get some turnovers. He'll be able to make big plays down the stretch. And also, he's been available all season long. I said earlier that he has no injury history, which is huge when you're talking about a linebacker that's up in age like he is. He's almost 30 years old. He'll be going into the next season with a huge contract at 30, which isn't common for most linebackers who's playing at an elite level. They're usually younger, and he's playing like a younger linebacker. I honestly feel like under this scheme, for the next 2 or 3 years, Zach Bond will be a top 5 to 10 linebacker in the NFL, and he'll be able to shine. He'll be able to show teams moving down in his years going forward with the league that linebacker position is very important. Zach Bond's numbers has already surpassed Luke Kuechly's in the same year that Luke Kuechly made Defensive Player of the Year. Speaking of offseason, Mekhi Becton may be the first to get a contract, with Sports Illustrated writing that Mekhi Becton's market value may be the cheapest and how he's already expressed his love for Philly. Now, Becton has had some knee issues in his career that could take some money off of the table for him, but he's still likely to be secured, with Spot Track projecting Becton's market value at $40.9 million for 4 years, making $10 million annually. And Howie is already showing that he's willing to spend big and place major value on the offensive line. So who more can you trust? When just last season, Howie extended Landon Dickerson for a max value of $87 million with a $20 million signing bonus and a total of over $50 million guaranteed. Now, that was last year, and we know the cap looked extremely different, but if anyone wants to figure out a way around it, manipulate the cap, if anybody can do that, keep players happy contractually while simultaneously making what the market value says they should, it's Howie. Now, we know Mekhi won't be making nearly as much as Landon, but he'll still be bringing home a big ticket, pun intended. So hopefully we can get him back in there, get a contract, and he can give us that Super Bowl smile once again. And I feel like if you want to get a contract out of the way first, it should be someone on the offensive line. So Mekhi Becton's contract being this significant, meaning that Howie can tackle it now, and that could be the first domino to fall contractually, that'll be big. Do you think the Eagles should bring him back, give him a contract, don't give him a contract, 3 or 4 years? How long do you think he should be there? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's get into the draft. With it being only one more day until the NFL Combine begins, and around this time of year, a lot of good news begins to emerge as the Eagles reportedly met with University of Florida nose tackle Cam Jackson, a very talented nose tackle and has a lot of speed and a lot of potential. Last season, Jackson recorded 37 tackles and 2 sacks. But Cam Jackson is a day 3 prospect for the 25 draft. He's a strong run stopper with a large frame, but he needs to improve his pass rushing and leverage. Jackson profiles as a developmental 2-down run stuffer with the physical tools to grow, but his combination of size, length, and neutral power will intrigue teams looking for a rotational nose tackle who can anchor themselves against the run while they develop in pass rush arsenal. Now, I've seen some comments and questions online from the media asking if the Eagles are looking at this position, can he challenge Jordan Davis on the defensive line? Which I think is interesting because we know the Birds want to add more depth on the defensive line, so that is something to look out for moving forward. Now, with less snaps, Jordan Davis's production has decreased since the 2023 season. Davis isn't as heavy as Cam, but when called upon, he's a master at filling gaps and has great footwork for a big guy. His great strength and power gets him in the backfield quickly. It can become a problem against opposing centers at times, and we've seen that on many occasions. Davis's numbers, however, are a far cry from what they were last year. Per Next Gen Stats, Davis's pass rushing production has lessened, and his pass rush rate bumped down from 6.7 to 3.5. But when Davis is on the field, the Eagles have a higher run stuff rate and have contacted rushers at a higher rate when JD is defending the run. So safe to say that he hasn't had much success rushing the passer, but his run stopping ability is what helps the defense massively. But we've seen this kind of production in college. We knew what we were getting out of college. You knew what you were getting out of JD when he was coming out of college, and he couldn't necessarily rush the passer at a high rate.
We knew what this was coming out of college with JD. You accepted it coming out of college. You probably try to do some things to work on it to help him get better at pass rushing. But this is who he is as a player in the NFL, and we accept those things that come with him. I wish in the future, and I hope in the future, that he can get a little better at that pass rush. We know that he's a bigger guy, so it's easier for him to run stop, to get filling those gaps because of his size. But if he can get a little better at pass rushing, oh my God, he'll be so better.
So that's something to look out for, because Howie's going to be looking to improve this defensive line. He always looks to improve the defensive line. It's been the Birds' identity since the late Buddy Ryan, and it's going to continue to be the identity for the Eagles moving forward. You guys let me know in the comments below, who do you think is going to be drafted next to the defensive line by the Wizard, Howie Roseman?
You're a wizard, Harry.
Honestly, I trust Howie Roseman to make all the right decisions with all of the guys' contracts moving forward. He hasn't given me a reason not to believe in him. Every season, Howie gift wrapped us a gift, and it's always around this time of the year that we should be on the lookout for major trades, major shuffling, a lot of shuffling going on in the NFL, a lot of shuffling going on with the Birds. So keep an eye out, keep an ear out. Give me your like, comment, and subscription. You guys be blessed, and go Birds.
Be sure to go like and subscribe to Eagle-Centric. Eagle-Centric is where you get your 24/7 Eagle news. To all of my Eagle-Centric Eagle fans out there, Eagle-Centric 24/7 Eagle news. Go follow on all platforms now. Eagle-Centric. Go Birds, baby.